All right, my sexy aliens, welcome to this Virgo lunar eclipse happening on March 3rd, and this bad girl is a powerful one, okay? She's a powerful one. As always, if you're new here, you want to watch the first half of this video because it is where all of the tea is. Everything that you're going to need to know for this eclipse is in the first half of this video, and it's going to help you the most. So stick around, watch the first half before you go skipping ahead anywhere. All right, this eclipse, no one knows what's going on, okay? We're just gonna start off by saying that this eclipse is like a shot in the dark. This Virgo lunar eclipse is trying to make sense of something that is messy, tangled up, and really uncertain. And I think the only thing that we can really truly be 100% certain about right around this time is that everything is uncertain. There is a lot going on that we may not completely understand just yet, and that's fine. This eclipse can feel a bit messy, and as much as we're gonna want to put it all together and organize it and clean it up, not to say that we can't do that to some extent, there's still going to be an element to this eclipse of letting go, having faith, surrendering, trusting in some higher plan, using our intuition. We are basically like trying to clean a basement that has needed to be cleaned for a while, but the light is not working, okay? And we'll explain why that is, but this is definitely a time of a karmic cleansing out that we may be able to see to some extent. We may have certain ideas or feelings or things coming up in our lives that we'll be able to pinpoint, but there will also be things that aren't quite clear just yet, okay? And we'll explain why that is here soon. I'm gonna do this eclipse video a little different, okay? Just because the way that I'm feeling this energy, this Virgo lunar eclipse, is very like, there's a certain level of things happening behind the scenes, it feels like, for this eclipse that we may not be completely hip to just yet. And I've gotten a lot of different downloads and ideas and stuff for this eclipse, but some of them are conflicting and some of them don't all add together, just like I said about this eclipse. So I'm going to kind of focus on all the different ways that I think people are going to be seeing this play out to some extent in their lives, because this can come up in so many different ways. So I'm going to kind of focus on my intuitive narrative and my astrological opinion at the same time. So just beware, I may say conflicting things, okay? Not every single thing I go over may relate to you right now in your life. Pick the things that do, leave the things that won't. And also, I understand that my bangs are long, okay? I'm in the process of growing them out. Every time I start growing out my bangs, people get really weird about it on YouTube, and they're like, you need to cut your bangs. You need to see a stylist. It's like, no, they're meant to be like this. I am in a process of potentially growing them out. I go back and forth. I can never decide. They get to a certain point, I cut them short again. So we're just gonna wait and see, but I understand that they're long, and I understand that they're in my eyes, and I understand that they don't look the best right now, all right? So I understand. I know, you don't have to let me know. It's not like I don't look in the mirror at least once a day, okay? So anyways, with that being said, let's go ahead and pull up the chart and get into what this Virgo lunar eclipse could be bringing up for you in your life or other people in your life at this time, and why. Alrighty, so as you can see here, we have this lunar eclipse happening in the sign of Virgo, very close to the south node there. So this is a south node lunar eclipse, right? A south node lunar eclipse, number one, usually deals a lot with showing us what is karmically tied, tangled up, patterns, you know, things going on from the past that are still with us. A south node eclipse is often like a drain, you can think of it as, or even just untangling. Like a lot of it is like showing us where we've been knotted up by something in the past that needs to come back around so it can be untangled. So certain people may be feeling like, oh God, this again, this problem again, or this symptom again, or this, you know, thing I thought I already dealt with. Some people maybe think it may be like, oh, there's this thing, it's been going on the whole time, and now I'm really seeing it for what it is, or now I'm really getting to the bottom of it. Could be different for different people, but either way, it's kind of showing us our blind spots. It's kind of showing us what has been tangled up to a certain extent, either karmically or through a pattern in our lives or something that needs to go. A south node eclipse is very karmic. It's usually telling us what needs to be released or let go of during this time so that we can move forward. Now, in Virgo, what does that mean? A south node lunar eclipse in the sign of Virgo. Well, that means that we are kind of needing to get rid of a lot of Virgo themes, okay? Now, Virgo themes, Virgo is basically the sign of breaking things down. It's the sign of the descent, because the sun is at home in Leo, and then the sun moves through Virgo, and Virgo is where things start kind of breaking down to where the sun moves into Libra eventually, and then it is in its fall. So this is kind of like Virgo, oftentimes because of where it's at, kind of rules the descent of the sun, breaking things down into smaller parts to understand how it all happened. And we're going to go over a lot of that. But here's the thing. Right now, we have a ton of stuff going on in Pisces. We're in Pisces season, and this Virgo lunar eclipse is not only going to give us Virgo themes, but Pisces themes. Why? Well, because the ruler of this eclipse is Mercury, and Mercury is retrograde in Pisces, where it doesn't do well at. So what the hell does all that mean? That means that things are very uncertain. That analogy I gave of trying to clean out your basement, but the light won't turn on, so you're like having to kind of do it in the dark, very much this eclipse, okay? False evidence can appear real. Could also be like, where we're not believing and having faith. And also, I think just, in general, before we can get our Pisces spiritual freak on, we've got to get organized first. We've got to reorganize some things. We've got to let go of some details or some old fixes or some old solutions to problems that are no longer working. We've got to let go of some old stuff, basically. And, this Virgo lunar eclipse, usually a Virgo full moon around this time of year, really shows us that faith without works is dead. Because Pisces is all about faith. Virgo is about what is useful in the physical reality, in my world, in my physical day-to-day life. Like, how can I work on things to, find some kind of better, efficient way to improve my life, to improve my, whatever, to improve something. Virgo is very much about improvement. It's very much about like cleaning shit up, reorganizing things. So this is kind of like a very karmic spring cleaning that's coming in, like a very karmic cleanse that we're having here. And I really keep getting this image of like the Judgment card in tarot, because Judgment comes up a lot with Virgo, and I even talked about that in my Aquarius solar eclipse video, and I talked about how this eclipse season in general with an Aquarius solar eclipse and Virgo lunar eclipse, and how I thought that was going to play out, and I thought it was going to bring up a lot of themes about judgment, not only judgment with ourselves, but judgment with others. And the Judgment card a lot of the times is about releasing ourselves from the cages, the boxes that we've put ourselves in, releasing, like basically forgiving ourselves, forgiving past versions of ourselves, forgiving ourselves for doing something wrong or patterns that we haven't quite corrected all the way. Again, this Virgo lunar eclipse on the South Node is basically about untangling an old mess, untangling old patterns. And so with Virgo being a mutable sign here, it really shows that something needs to change in our lives. Something needs to be moved around. Something needs to be changed. Something needs to be corrected in some way, shape, or form. And so I think that because Virgo wants to be so useful, why is that? Why is Virgo so worried about improvement? Well, because this is where the sun starts descending, okay? And I think I read sometime and somewhere a long time ago in an article about like Black Moon Lilith or something, that Virgo as a sign and the shadow traits of Virgo as a sign is really kind of this like fear. A lot of the traits of Virgo come from fear of being separated from source, this kind of sense of separation, and that's why Virgo breaks things down. That's why Virgo's so concerned with purity and cleanliness or organization or improvement or efficiency or usefulness, because there's a shadow side of Virgo that's like, what did I do to be put here in this very imperfect world, in this very imperfect place, separated from perfection? Again, the sun's descent is through Virgo, where the sun starts falling, goes into its fall right after it goes through Virgo. So there's like a disintegration process happening here, whereas Pisces is about integration. And so Virgo is about taking things apart to figure out like, okay, how did all of this work? How is all of this useful? But then when you take it apart and you differentiate all of it, you realize that like, hey, there was some flaws in this to begin with. But then when we focus so much on the flaws, we kind of, nothing's ever good enough. Nothing's ever perfect. Nothing is ever okay. We're always finding the problems. We're always finding what could go wrong. We're always finding and tweaking, trying to tweak some little thing and finding the solution to the problem, because there's always a problem. There can never not be a problem. And that's kind of the shadow side of Virgo. So there's this energy or this trait about Virgo that's like, well, maybe if I do this correctly, maybe if I clean this right, maybe if I reorganize this, maybe if I can have control over certain things and I can, really go about this sense of purity in a different way, or I can change this or clean that, or, make myself pure again in some way, shape, or form, I will be reconnected with source if I can get to that level of perfection. And that's why the lesson in Virgo is so much about dealing with imperfection, dealing with control issues, dealing with this separation from source of perfection. And so with this Virgo lunar eclipse, we may notice a lot of these keywords: judgment, criticism, our inner critic, improvement, patterns, breaking things down to figure out how they worked, but is that useful? Are we in a loop at this point, just continuously trying to look for some problem when really maybe there is no problem? Like Virgo is very much like, okay, I need to try to control and organize this and find order in this so it's not a mess. Whereas Pisces is like, let's embrace the mess, man, and find divinity within that. Like, let's surrender to the mess. And so we're kind of dealing with this dichotomy, this polarity of Pisces and Virgo. Where do we have power over something that we do need to change, that we do need to control, versus where do we need to let go because it's like causing an unhealthy attachment or an unhealthy behavior or an unhealthy way of being or a sense of unhappiness and stress and worry, etc., to continue hanging on and trying to control something that is basically out of our control. Something I talk a lot about with, that I think really goes into this is like this beginner mindset, how when you talk to somebody and they're like, I'm having this problem, and you give them suggestions and they're like, I've tried that. I know that. I know that. I already knew that. I already know that. And it's like, okay, well, that no wonder you're stuck. No wonder you have this problem because you think you know everything. You've lost your optimism. Pisces, you've lost your faith, you've lost your ability to trust and believe, and you've basically, told yourself that nothing is possible, you have all the answers, and therefore you're just going to keep remaining with this problem, which is not necessarily healthy and true. Like you have to have a sense of optimism and innovation to be able to move past something. And so it's like this Virgo lunar eclipse for some people could also be like, where are some of your old tools keeping you stuck? Where are some of your old tools keeping you where you're at? And it's time to move on. It's time to let them go. It's time to let some of your old tools, your old remedies, or your old little quick fixes for things, which Virgo is very much about. It's time to maybe let some of that go. Maybe it's become unhealthy. Maybe it's become a Band-Aid for something bigger, So that could be it for other people. Now, I think that this Virgo lunar eclipse could also be us making sense of plans, past things, past situations that didn't quite go our way, because we can't plan for everything. We can't hold things against ourselves for things not going to according to plan. So it's like, where are you holding something against yourself? Again, the Judgment Tarot card that was actually out of your control. Or where do you need to practice more forgiveness? More like self-forgiveness and self-compassion, and forgive yourself more quickly, because judging yourself and being hard on yourself and allowing your inner critic to completely take over and basically call the shots is potentially keeping you stuck even more, or holding you back from what you want even more. So this could also be some of the ways that we see this like really coming up around this time. Sometimes our plans unravel and sometimes our faith is tested. And this is kind of one of those transits. It's like, okay, some kind of plan has unraveled, or some kind of plan has not gone according to the way that we thought it was going to go. And our faith could be tested for some people. Again, a shot in the dark. Maybe it's like, I thought this was going to work and the evidence is showing me that it's not looking like it is. Do I continue to trust and believe, or do I continue to allow reality to dictate my thoughts? Do I go with what's logical, or do I go with what I trust in my heart? And so this could be a really big polarity that a lot of people are experiencing around this time as well, because when plans unravel, they test our faith. The details, where we get lost in the small details of things can test our belief. It's like if we focus too much on the details, sometimes it's like, oh, well, we're just not trusting, or we're getting carried away by like the small little things in our lives. But then if we don't look at any of the details and we just sit back and let everything go, then maybe, you know, we kind of lose that motivation to make a change in our lives. And so I think it's like finding the balance with these two polarities right now. I think that this could also be bringing up something that should have been fixed a long time ago. And when I say should have, I don't mean like you should be really hard on yourself, but it's like I had the opportunity to fix this before and now it's coming back up again. And now it's time to actually fix it, you know? It could also be bringing up something that's been going on in the background that you haven't quite paid attention to, and now it's like really coming to the surface right now. Either way, we're dealing with this polarity of what can we control, what is within our control and our abilities, versus what can we not control? What do we have to surrender? Anytime that we have any Pisces and Virgo transits, this usually is the polarity that we're playing with for the majority of the time. And so I think that this Virgo lunar eclipse is like trying to find a plan in the chaos. It's like you're trying to find the dartboard in the dark. It's like, well, how do I, you know, make a plan, but I can't see, you know? And it's like, well, you have to trust, you know? It's like we're trying to find order in the mess, but Mercury and Pisces being in its fall there and detriment there, it's like, it's in the dark. It's like blind going through water. Nothing is certain. It can't make out what it's seeing. So it just has to basically, you know, kind of let go and trust and have some kind of faith, you know? And so that, and with that being the ruler of this eclipse, there's so much of this Pisces energy that goes into this eclipse. The physical really points back to the emotional, internal, spiritual, and energetic parts of our lives right now. So basically what that means is that let's say there are certain things showing up in your life right now. There are certain physical things, you know, maybe you're having physical symptoms, you know, of a health issue. Maybe you're having physical symptoms of, you know, something financial going on, whatever it may be. This is pointing back to some kind of inner spiritual, energetic, or emotional entanglement in some way, shape, or form. Why? Because again, this Virgo lunar eclipse is connected to Mercury and Pisces right now. So Mercury rules this eclipse, but it's in Pisces retrograde. So it's taking us back through something. And that's why not only is this a South Node eclipse, which deals a lot with the past and old patterns, but also Mercury is retrograde. So we're reflecting, we're going back to the past, but in a more intuitive, feeling oriented way. And so therefore, if there are physical things coming up right now, maybe they've come up before, but you've ignored them. Maybe they've been trying to get your attention to point you to something else internal, emotional, spiritual, energetic that is going on that you need to trust in some way, shape, or form. And, you know, both of these signs, Virgo and Pisces, really deal with purification. And so again, like this is like a karmic cleanse, a karmic purification that is happening here, a karmic clearing out, a karmic cleaning out. This is like a karmic spring cleaning, basically. And Virgo gets to purification by cleaning up the mess, by cleaning up what seems out of order or what seems to not fit or be useful in some way, shape, or form. Pisces gets to purity by allowing things to be a mess, by surrendering that it does not have control over everything and focusing on the internal world rather than the external world. And so it basically, it's like an internal game with Pisces because Pisces is ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter is the guru and the planet of expansion. And so Pisces is about inward expansion because it's a water sign, inward expansion and you know, shifts and change since it's a mutable water sign to move beyond one's internal realm, you know, which is why Pisces can rule a lot of really like spiritual kind of things. Whereas Virgo is ruled by Mercury, so it's focused on the smaller nitty-gritty details of you know, reality, of what it can see, feel, and touch. And so with this, you know, with this in mind, it's really important to remember though, because Pisces kind of dominates this eclipse still, because since Mercury, the ruler of this eclipse, is in Pisces, it's really important to remember that Pisces is, you know, basically the circle of life. Pisces shows us, and I've already been seeing this theme come up as I do almost every Pisces transit, that everything is connected. You know, everything connects into itself. Everything is connected. So whatever's happening in your life right now is connected. There's a like interconnection going on here that's being weaved through everything. And when you really kind of start focusing on that and looking for it and seeing how these physical things happening in your life are potentially connected to some other things happening within you or within your life, then it starts to all kind of, connect. It's like a puzzle that starts getting put together. So a really beautiful way to deal with this Virgo lunar eclipse on the South Node, ruled by Mercury retrograde in Pisces right now, is to find that connection, find how everything is connected on a greater scale. And you may not figure it out right on this eclipse. It may be something that comes over the next month or so as Mercury finishes its retrograde cycle. But either way, everything's connected. And we don't get to the piece of the puzzles that we need by completely only thinking rationally about this, or completely only thinking in like a 3D way, I guess you could say, an earthly material way. We have to look at this from a higher perspective as well, with Pisces being the ruler of this. Now, on top of that, because this is a 6-month karmic clear out, because this is a 6-month karmic cleanup, and, this is really important to remember that this all potentially started either last year, so you could be seeing themes come up from last year around September 2025, but also September 2024. And then you could also be seeing themes come up from last year, March 2025. So what came up around those time periods for you, because that's what this eclipse cycle is connected to right now. And so remembering what was coming up then, this is really showing us something about those time periods, or connecting dots in a way. And again, you may not connect all the dots right now. Like I said, there's a lot of things that are a bit mysterious, or that can only really be felt or known on a emotional, intuitive, energetic level, rather than I can prove this kind of level right now, just because of Mercury's placement in Pisces ruling this eclipse. So either way, though, I think that it's really important to remember with this lunar eclipse in Pisces, what does all this mean? How can we really see this coming up in our lives right now? I think number one, it's going to be really important. A lesson with this is going to be really important to remember that just because you're not at where you think perfection is, wherever you think that perfection is for you in whatever area of life, whether it's your job, finances, relationship, etc., just because you're not there does not mean that it's bad now, or that it has to be bad now. It means that there are certain things about now that you can embrace, and not everything, something I really have been considering. It's a question that I've not been able to answer myself. So if any of you guys have an answer to this, I would really, really love to hear your feedback. But something I think about a lot with Virgo, and I have a couple planets in Virgo, so I really see it coming up for me a lot. It's something I've not really been able to differentiate or find clarity on. But it's basically the question of what is the difference between being perfectionistic versus settling? And what I mean by that is, how do you know when you should just be grateful because you're being overly critical, or you're being perfectionistic and you don't want to look a gift horse in the mouth kind of thing? Maybe you're making something out of nothing. You're turning something really beautiful and really good into a problem, and it doesn't need to be, by trying to focus too hard on the small little thing that's not right. How do you know when you're doing that? You need to chill and it's not that big of a deal and you're being perfectionistic, versus how do you know when you're settling and you're truly unsatisfied, and you're just kind of okay, well, I don't like this, I don't want this, but I don't want to be perfectionistic, so I'm just going to settle, right? And it's something I've been really contemplating for quite a while now. Because I haven't really found the true differentiation, because I don't believe that it's great to just settle. I think there are times in our lives where we kind of need to settle, right? Because we learn something from those times. So I'm not necessarily saying it's bad to settle or don't ever settle. But I also think that, I don't always want to just settle for, I don't ever want to settle for something I truly don't want. And so I think that sometimes it's hard to find that balance between, okay, I'm being perfectionistic and trying to find fault in something that's not going to really be healthy or helpful for me, and I need to just chill and embrace it, accept it, surrender, versus, okay, no, I don't need to surrender. I need to make a change because I'm not going to settle for something I don't want or I'm not satisfied with. It's almost like being at the dinner table and out to eat, and your food gets there, and it's good, but I don't know, maybe the pasta is just a little bit undercooked or a little bit overcooked or a little bit cold now. And yeah, kind of, you're like weird. It's like, do I say something? Do I not say something? Do I settle? Or do I, point out this problem that's keeping me from enjoying the pasta completely, but like maybe your server's really busy and has like a ton of other tables and you don't want to like put that on them, so you don't want to be picky or perfectionistic or be that kind of person. But it's hard. It's like how, like, and so this could be bringing that up for some people. I know it's definitely been something I've been contemplating with my own Virgo placements for a while. So, and if you have any insight to add around that, I'd love to hear it down below. But anyway, other than that, I think that sometimes it is important to like show some empathy, Pisces, to the parts of ourselves that we criticize, or to the parts of ourselves that we critique, or to our own inner critic. It's like, okay, where are we being overly critical on ourselves? Where are we picking ourselves apart or picking something else apart or whatever, and not allowing ourselves to just be in the moment, be present, be grateful, and see the beauty that we have. It's kind of like glass half full, glass half empty kind of thing. It's like, do you want to be like, I know that I don't want to be like a negative Nancy picky person always complaining, right? But also, do you want to be satisfied? And so anyway, but I think sometimes you've got to give your inner critic some empathy, especially when that inner critic is attacking you, right? When your own inner critic starts attacking you, you've really got to give yourself some empathy there and really like respond with like, wow, like, I'm sorry you feel that way. Like, that wasn't very nice. I love you though. And so you don't need to feel like that. Like, what are you so scared of? What are you needing me to hear right now? Like, I think really talking to and again, like at this level of merging with Pisces and Mercury retrograde in Pisces right now, it's like, how can we merge with some of these like little small things, or these self-doubts, or our inner critic, or, our perfectionistic tendencies? Like, how can we forgive them and smooth out some of the edges on them so that they're not so sharp, or that they're not so forcing us to like hang on for dear life to have control over every little thing in our lives. This is also very much about embracing our humanness, in the Aquarius solar eclipse. And I think this Virgo lunar eclipse, this whole eclipse cycle, I think is very much about embracing our humanness and embracing the imperfection of being human, that we're not always going to get it right, that we don't always need to fit in or be well liked or feel like we belong to everything, or always be, looking at ourselves as insignificant or, whatever in some way, or that we are not just getting our sense of self-worth from how useful we can be. I think that is really, really, really important with Virgo as well. Now, on kind of a collective scale here, I think a lot of the times, especially with this Virgo Aquarius eclipse cycle, we're really going to see like systems around health and money and jobs, and just the talk of systems. Like I've already heard it everywhere, and I'm pretty sure I said this in my Aquarius solar eclipse video weeks ago as well, but like it's less about, I think, the physical things right now. It's a little bit more about how the system in which those physical things work. And so, and we could like see this within ourselves too, also on like a collective scale. Virgo rules the digestive system, the gut. I think that we're really going to see a lot of people have things coming up health-wise or body-wise, like things that, again, symptoms that could point to something going on emotionally or internally or spiritually or energetically, but also, okay, what do we need to get rid of? South Node eclipse in Virgo, the digestive system sorts out what it needs to get rid of, right? And so it's like a process, and Virgo is a process. It's processing things. And so it's like, okay, what things, physical things or physical routines or foods or certain things that I'm doing that I need to get rid of in some way? Diet, whatever the case may be. It's like, what do I need to stop doing, and what do I need to change out and implement? And so we are really clearing things out. We're really sorting out what's going to come, what's going to go, what needs to stay, all of that right now with this Virgo eclipse. Because of that, we're likely going to see a lot of things coming out, and I know I already have as well, about food and chemicals and things like that. Anything that is keeping us from again, purity, whether it be purity with our health, purity with our bodies, purity with our guts and our digestive systems, purity with, you know, our sense of self. And again, both Virgo and Pisces kind of deal with this sense of purity and kind of understanding the balance of like what needs to change, what do we physically need to change in our lives, and what do we need to let go of. What do we have control over? What do we not? What have we just been kind of blind to that we've been just letting play out or go on in the background, versus what do we actually need to physically do to change, you know? And so it's not just like, oh, surrender and release control. There are certain things that I think like, okay, no, if you want to change this, you've got to start changing it. You've got to make those fixes or, and right now, a lot of times with Virgo energy, a small fix can create a big result. A lot of the times it's like one small tweak of something and it's like, everything works so differently. Getting rid of one thing can make a huge result right now. And so I think this Virgo eclipse overall is us really seeing clearly what needs to either change, be fixed, be let go of, be forgiven, surrendered, where we need to have more compassion, empathy with ourselves or with others. It's like kind of holding up a mirror of where we have been potentially too in perfectionism or too in control or too laid back and not really, you know, not really organizing our lives and rerouting our system in the way that we need to right now. And so this is where I think all of the different lessons are really going to be coming in at. So let me know down below how that resonated with you guys. Comment down below. Sexy alien, if you made it till here, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Let me know down below what you thought of this video, if it related to you, what stuck out to you. I'd really love to hear your feedback. With that being said, we're going to move on and get to what this means for your rising sign. You can find the timestamps for that down below. And let go. Alrighty, my lovely Virgo risings. Welcome and happy lunar eclipse in your sign. How have you guys been? I've gotten a lot of mixed reviews, mixed feedback on how this nodal cycle has been for you. I've seen a lot of Virgos say this has been like the worst time of my life the last year, and I've heard a lot of Virgos say like this has been really great and cleansing and purifying and all the things. So let me know how it's been for you down below. Again, this nodal cycle basically started in September 2024 with the Pisces lunar eclipse, but really the nodes fully moved into your sign and Pisces sign pretty much the beginning of 2025. So this is, I'm pretty sure, the last lunar eclipse in Virgo. I could be wrong about that. There might be one more. I know there's another Pisces lunar eclipse this year, but this is the last eclipse in your sign for at least the rest of the year. So this is, you know, pretty much completing something that's been going on here in your first house of self, your body, your vitality, your health, and how your body works. You know, Virgo as a sign is about breaking things down, the mechanics behind things, how it all works, dissecting it, getting to the bottom of it, you know, really taking it apart to see how it all harmonizes and you know, kind of integrates together. And so with you having this lunar eclipse happening in your first house, this is really showing you what needs to go in terms of your health, your body, your vitality, what is not working with your system, with your body, with your process, how you process things, okay? This could also bring up, just because Virgo rules the digestive system, the gut. And so it's really about like sorting out again, like, okay, this is useful, this is not. This could be you guys really realizing that maybe an old strategy, an old band-aid, an old solution, an old fix for something is no longer working, and it's time to change it up, or it's time to finally figure it out or solve it in a new way. This could also be like you guys purging and cleansing. This would be a great time for a detox. Great time for a cleanse or a detox or something. A lot of you guys could be also, for those of you Virgo risings that are in a relationship with other people, or at least have close other connections and relationships in your life, this lunar eclipse could be showing you through the lens of other people or your partner or relationships in your life how certain things are unfolding for you physically. Okay. And the reason I say that is because your chart ruler Mercury is retrograde right now in the sign of Pisces. All right. And he does not like to be there. And so it's not great for you in terms of getting very clear and having like the finite details on what's going on with you, right? So it may be like an intuitive nudge, or a partner may see something, or someone else may see something that you don't quite see. They may be kind of having like a feeling or something like that about what's going on with you physically or your body that you may not, right? Or it could be that, you know, something going on in your relationship or with your relationships with others has been the source of something going on with your body or health or vitality, etc., etc. Now, this could also be, for a lot of you, like forgiving past versions of yourself. Kind of seeing how maybe you have altered or changed yourself to fit in with other people or society, relationships, etc. Really looking at certain patterns that you have of internal critique or self-doubt, or learning to really alchemize that critic into its highest potential. Like, it doesn't always have to be something in your head beating yourself up, you know, like some audience, like, you know, oh God, you're so horrible. Oh God, you should do that. Maybe there's a way to alchemize that into its highest potential and really figure out, like, actually some of what it's saying might be like, you know, truthful. You know, maybe, yeah, I should finally do this thing or get on this diet or exercise or whatever. Maybe it's not trying to beat me up. Maybe it's trying to help me. But also, there could be some of you that are like, I don't always have to be useful to feel worthy, or I don't always have to feel like I'm improving something, or I'm this constant project, you know, to get myself to perfection to feel good about myself. So these are the different ways you could see this coming up. There could be a lot of logistics, communication, and reflection going on in your relationships right now as well, where you are kind of relearning how to speak to people or connect with people from your past in some way, shape, or form. With Mercury retrograde in your 7th, it's like you're kind of learning about yourself potentially through the lens of others for some of you, and that could also help you forgive some things, let go of some things, come to peace with some things, surrender some things. It's like you're seeing what you have control of and realizing that, hey, I can see and control myself. I don't have to necessarily control what others do or think or whatever. I can release control there, or trust them to clean up their own mess or deal with their own problems, or whatever the case may be. So anyways, that is what I'm seeing for you guys, Virgo Risings. Let me know down below if that resonated. Comment down below, sexy Virgo Rising, and let me know what stuck out to you. If you missed the first half, I would definitely go back and watch that, especially as a Virgo Rising, because it's all about you, and I think you're going to relate to it a lot. And we're going to move on to Libra Risings. So for Libra Risings, this lunar eclipse on the South Node in Virgo is happening in your 12th house. And so if any sign had the eclipse that really signified some kind of karmic clearing out and cleanse, it is you most of all. Okay, this would be an excellent time to go on a detox, to go on a cleanse, to detox your life in more than one way, on a physical level, a spiritual level, an emotional level, an energetic level. Like, clean it all out, babe. Clean it out, clean it up, get rid of it. Like, let's go. You know, what needs to change in your day-to-day life with your diet, your routines, your habits, your addictions? What is no longer serving you? And where have you had this like subconscious inner voice that has been trying to tell you to take control of something in your life right now? For some of you, it could be a voice of perfectionism that you are feeling, looking at, unraveling, getting to the bottom of, or healing. For others of you, it could be a voice that's like, you know what, actually, it's like, I don't need to be in control of everything. And for others of you, it could be like, no, I do need to take control. I do have control over this. I do have the ability to do this. So why am I not? And actually, it's not even about why you're not. It's about just like, okay, well, if I want to purify my life, if I want to purify myself from the inside out, this needs to be done in some kind of way. So it's really about, for you, especially Libra, the analogy that I used earlier in the video of, hey, this is like reorganizing your basement, but the light won't turn on. This is especially true for you guys. This is reorganizing your basement, and you have a little bit of light from the steps, okay, from the lunar eclipse itself, but you can't quite see everything. So it's like there are going to be some things that you get rid of, or there are going to be some things that you don't quite see clearly just yet, but that will come over time. But right now, it's more than ever about like what has been going on behind the scenes that has been working against you, that is not allowing you to move forward in the way that you want to move forward. Like what has been controlling you from behind the scenes, or what have you allowed to control you behind the scenes? What have you been putting off? What have you been negating? What have you been avoiding? What have you not wanting to look at? Where have you been self-sabotaging? All of these things are really going to come up right now, and it's really going to ask you like, okay, well, it's time to face some of these things, see some of these things so that you can let go and cleanse yourself of them. There could be a lot of confusing delays, setbacks, miscommunication happening in your job right now. If you're a Libra rising with Mercury retrograding in your 6th, there could just be like, it could really be driving like your inner control freak up the wall, or like your inner perfectionist, or like detail-oriented organizer, planner up the wall. It could feel like there is a lot that you're having to trust or let go of or surrender to or have faith with in the workplace or within your doctor's offices or doctor's visits or schedule or routines, day-to-day lifestyle and health in some way. But you do have the ability to take control of whatever is going on behind the scenes with you right now. Your subconscious, your dream world could be super active, giving you a lot of hints, symbolism, clues right now to really solve like what it is that you have going on with you that is holding you back behind the scenes, or creating some kind of self-undoing thing, right? The 12th house rules self-undoing. So it's like, where are you actually, part of the problem, part of your own problem here, and but it's a good thing, because it's like, if you're not the problem, there is no solution, if you're not the problem, there is no solution, babe. So like, it's almost like good that if it's you doing something in a way that you can correct it, that you can fix it, that you can change it, what do you have power over? What do you have control over that you're not wanting to see, or that you're not owning? And that's what this Virgo lunar eclipse could be bringing up for a lot of you. Let me know down below. Libra risings, how that resonated. Comment down below, sexy Libra rising, and let me know what you thought. If you missed the first half, you're missing out. Go back and watch it. All right. Alrighty, moving on to Scorpio risings. For Scorpio risings, this Virgo lunar eclipse is happening in your 11th house of other people, your network, parties, events, like anything socially that's going on with you, the types of different social groups, cliques, etc., that you connect with in the world. So this could be a lot about you guys really kind of seeing where you have maybe felt a bit like boxed in with certain social groups, or there could be something coming to light here to do with judgment, criticism, perfectionism, with social interactions, social politics, social dynamics, whether it be online or in person as well. This doesn't have to just be in person. This can be online. This can be a community that you're a part of. This can be marketing. Like, marketing is a very 11th house thing. This could be an audience that you have. This could be, different Facebook groups that you're in online, different types of people that you're interacting with. Either way, there's something here coming to your attention that has been kind of brewing here on and off over like the last year, but especially the last 6 months since September 2025, that is really coming to a head. And it is kind of like, what do you want to put out into the world? What image do you want to put out in the world, or what is truthful for you to put out in the world? I feel like this, for a lot of you guys, could be like where you are focused maybe on like a process or a system, or what is working, or how to be useful in a certain situation with other people. And that is really coming to the surface right now. Now, with Mercury retrograde opposite of this in your 5th house of love, romance, creativity, artistry, sexuality, there could be a lot of that coming up too. So for instance, in a way that I could see this, like, where have maybe you been worried too much about the details of your social life, or the perfect image that you want to present to others, or the perfect way to market, or the perfect process of doing something, or whatever the case may be, the perfect community, or certain systems or processes or ways of, you know, bringing people together through something. And is that congruent with what you actually want, love, etc.? So again, where have you been kind of trying to control your social life, or maybe others control you? For some of you, that could be it. Versus where have you been actually feeling into what you want and your heart's desire and allowing that to lead? So it's kind of like, I feel like some of you guys really want something, but are you putting in the work, or are you allowing perfectionistic tendencies, your inner criticism, you know, small little things to hold you back, or other people and judgment from other people to hold you back? You know, are you trusting in your heart, your creativity, etc.? Now, for others of you, this could be, you know, something to do with your children, and your children, you know, and how they're getting along socially right now in some way. Maybe you're helping your child through a perfectionistic situation, or a criticism kind of situation, judgment, or something like that if you have children. Either way, this is something to do with your social life and how you put yourself out there to the world socially, whether online or in person. For some of you, this could be like an event that you're going to that involves other people, and preparing for that in some way, or, you know, something along those lines. But there's something coming to a head here that it's like, okay, where have you allowed, you know, old past things to control you? Where have you been too nitpicky? Where have you been too, you know, trying to control how other people see you, or what other people think, or whatever the case may be? Or where have you allowed other people to control you? You know, it's like, if they judge you, so what? Like, so what? What does that really mean? You know, like, what does that really lead to? So I think you're learning to trust yourself, basically. I think you're learning to trust yourself, to trust your desires, to trust your heart, and what your heart wants, and how to, there's still a process though, right? There's still a process of like, okay, I have all this creativity flowing through me. I have these desires to put out something into the world, or to connect with certain types of people. How do I maneuver that? What are the mechanics of that? How can I do that in a physical way that really matches the level of love that I have for this? So you can refine things, right? But don't lose the essence in the process, is what I'm saying. Anyways, let me know down below, Scorpio Risings, how that resonated with you. I'd love to hear your feedback. Comment down below, sexy Scorpio Rising, if you watch still here. And if you missed the first half, go back and check that out. Alrighty, Sagittarius Risings. This South Node Virgo Lunar Eclipse for you is happening in your 10th house of career, your public image, your long-term goals, your achievements, and how you put yourself out there into the world. This could be a very big time, and also a very big chapter kind of closing out here that's been going on over like the last year or so, of you really reflecting on how you want to show up on a public level, and what you want for your future, your long-term goals, etc., etc. Now, what that could look like is maybe you want something that is physical, realistic, rational, stable, something that you have control of. But over the last year here, maybe your career, your future, your goals has felt a bit out of your control, or you haven't had all the details that you felt like you needed, or you've had to have a lot of trust. You've had to go with the flow. Your internal life, your internal world, your home life, your private life, your personal life has maybe had a lot going on. This is a time, a really strong time period, I feel like, for Sag Risings, of reflection of what you truly value, what's truly important to you, and also seeing where maybe you've been overly critical or too hard on yourself, or where you've had very strong standards and perfectionism tendencies about your career, or your what's that called? Your performance in your career, whatever it is that you make or create. If you make or create something for a job, like, it's like, where have your standards been too high that it's been almost impossible for you to reach? And also, what is closing out, ending here within your career, within your long-term goals, within your view of the future that you need to let go of, that you need to forgive, that may be coming up from the past. You know, there could be family matters or home matters that are really coming up here lately with this Mercury retrograde that you're trying to sort through, of like, okay, maybe I don't know where I want to live right now. And maybe things are very uncertain. Like I said in the beginning, this energy feels very uncertain. It feels like the only thing that you can really be certain about is that things are uncertain right now. And so it doesn't mean that you won't get clues or revelations or some pieces of the puzzle with this lunar eclipse, but I think that there's still a lot that you're figuring out, that you're reflecting on, that you may not know right now, and that's okay. It doesn't need to be perfect for you to move forward, is what I'm saying. You don't need to have all of the pieces lined up perfectly. I think that right now you're finding an internal sense of knowing rather than an external sense of knowing, and that's what can feel uncomfortable, because maybe you don't have one single goal to get to, or you don't have a clear target, or maybe you do have a clear target, but the path just doesn't feel sustainable, or it doesn't feel solid, you know? Like, the best way I can explain this is like doing something like this, like YouTube or TikTok or something online. Like, it can almost feel very scary in a way, because there's almost not like a very strong sense of security that comes with like a normal job when you work for someone else. Like, you know, you're gonna get, as long as you keep the job, you know, you're gonna get paid on time. You know, you have all, it's like you have a physical thing that, and that can feel very secure. But when you move from that to doing something like this, like online or something creative or whatever, like, you don't always know. There's not a way to always know. Like, you've got to have like a ton of faith, and there's just so much that goes into it that makes it work. And so over like the last year or so, as a Sag rising, you could have been really breaking down what works in career, or with your process of career, or maybe you've been moving away from a certain path that you were going down, and it's potentially been very confusing. You've been trying to put the pieces together to figure out how all this is going to work. And so this lunar eclipse is really highlighting that and saying, okay, well, there may be some other things that need to be let go of first before we can completely follow this path. And there needs to be some kind of inward journey or reflection or privacy that you have to fully come back to a certain inner knowing within you, or a certain level of trust in your desires and what you want to do from here moving forward. And so that is what I'm saying for you, Sagittarius risings. Let me know down below how that resonated with you guys. I'd really love to hear your feedback down below. Comment down below, sexy Sag rising. I appreciate you guys. If you missed the first half of the video, go back and watch that. It's super important. And we are moving on to Capricorn rising. So for Capricorn risings, this lunar eclipse in Virgo on the south node is happening in your 9th house. This is definitely an eclipse that is bringing up a lot of themes of what needs to be realized, processed, like, you know, seen, but also potentially let go of, or cleared out, or changed, or moved around in terms of your beliefs, in terms of how you judge the world or feel judged by the world, in terms of the way that you categorize things, or the way that you think about things, or what you think you know about the world or things going on. And the reason I'm saying this, again, if you missed the beginning, is just because that's what Virgo has to deal with. It's like sometimes, I think right now you're kind of being in this push and pull between Pisces and your 3rd, like letting go and having faith, you know, on a level of, okay, this is what I know, but also I'm really open, and I don't have to know everything, to being very detail oriented Virgo, and needing to know a lot of stuff or a lot of information on some kind of higher level. That could be with schooling, that could be with certain topics like religion, politics, your belief systems, you know, whatever, legalities, etc. All of those themes could really be coming up right now. You could have a lot of logistical confusion kind of happening now, a lot of communication confusion, but also, you know, this eclipse is kind of ending this like almost year-long cycle that we've had of this potential search for purity with some of you. Like, what is true and what isn't? What is, you know, how can we break this down? How can we look at this? How can we simplify this? How can we find a more efficient way of doing things? And so maybe you've been kind of like feeling this release of needing to have or know certain things to feel in control in your life. Like, it's like, okay, well, if I know what I believe, or I know what's going on in the world or in my country or whatever, or if I research this or keep up with this, or really learn a lot about this, then I'll feel more safe or more in control, and then I can relax in my day-to-day life. Pisces in the third. So some of you guys could be dealing with like that dichotomy here and lessons surrounding that. But either way, I think that this is a time of you really potentially changing your beliefs or seeing certain things that no longer work within what you believe, or potentially as well, some of you guys could be dealing with travel pursuits, educational pursuits, legal pursuits as well. It could, overall though, I don't think this is like a super negative energy. I think this is about learning to feel into things, like not needing to know everything, but on a logical or rational level, but like understanding it on like an emotional or intuitive level. And it could be bringing in your relationships as well into this, with Jupiter in your 7th house ruling a lot of the Pisces placements that we have right now. So for some of you, this could be a time where you're like moving, where you're like, I want to move environments, or I want to leave this city, or I want to travel back home for a bit, or take a short trip somewhere, or something along those lines. And it's going to kind of, I think, show you something that is kind of out of your comfort zone, or that you may not be kind of used to seeing, or that, this could also be like a period of reflection, or a period of like you going back to something that you thought you knew, or a certain place, people, situation that's like kind of from the past that you're now seeing in a whole new way, or coming back around to learn from in some way. So that is what I'm seeing for you guys, Capricorn Risings. Let me know down below how all that resonated and what you guys are noticing coming up right now. I'd love to hear your feedback. Comment down below, sexy Capricorn Rising. Go back and watch the first half of this video, and we're going to move on to Aquarius Rising. So Aquarius Risings, this lunar eclipse is happening for you in your 8th house. And I think right now for you, if you're an Aquarius Rising, you're going to see a lot coming up with this eclipse, obviously around finances, but I think more than that, like the taboos around money and making money, and how money doesn't always have to be thought of in a conventional way of control. So I think that this could be a time of you organizing things in a certain way, or starting to see a new process, or a new plan, or a new way of creating wealth, or creating money, or creating a difference to be useful in your life. Okay, because Virgo has a lot to do with usefulness. So this could be a time where you're like, okay, what's useful? Sorting out what's useful within not only finances, but possessions, and what you truly put value or stock into, with, the 8th house ruling like stock markets and things like that, but like also what you actually put stock into in your own personal life, metaphorically as well. Like, what needs to be released, what needs to be unraveled. Some of you guys could be paying off a debt that you're sick of lingering over your head. This could be you realizing a certain way that you've been going about things that has actually been holding you back, or keeping you stuck in some way, shape, or form. This is like realizing where you may have been, extremely like frugal, or still thinking about money from an old perspective, or kind of in survival mode, focusing on the losses of the past, or what didn't work out in the past, rather than creating something new right here, right now. I mean, Mercury retrograde, the ruler of this eclipse, is in your 2nd house. We have the node here. We have all these planets here in Pisces in the 2nd, really telling me that like you have a lot on your side right now, and your ability to create something for yourself that is solid, assets, finances, income, things like this. So this could definitely be a time first of you letting go of maybe old financial ties, or old financial stories around what you're able to do, or what you're capable of, old patterns financially, or old ways of looking at finances and assets and wealth, and all of these things. This could also be a time where you're kind of waking up to certain like psychological fears that you've had around perfectionism or around control, or around, like, you know, staying safe, trying to control the uncontrollable with the moon in your 8th house, the lunar eclipse in your 8th house in Virgo, to stay safe, you know. This could definitely be a time that is very psychological, but also really showing you potentially a new plan or a new way, or letting go of an old plan, or letting go of old ways that you've been kind of like fixing things in your life that are no longer working out for you, that are no longer really fulfilling you in the way that you desire to be fulfilled. And this really goes into your job, because Jupiter, the ruler of Pisces with all of these planets, is in your 6th house. And so this really goes into like your job, your day-to-day routine, your health, and how all that's tying into all of this, you know? And so it really seems to me like you're really facing, releasing, and realizing a lot of old knots, a lot of old patterns, a lot of old fears surrounding money, wealth, assets, and how to really create and get what you want out of your life, and how that feeds into your job, your health, and your day-to-day routines and lifestyles and habits. And so let me know down below, Aquarius Rising, how that resonated. I'd love to hear your feedback. Comment down below, Sexy Aquarius Rising. If you missed the first half, go back and check that out. Moving on to Pisces Rising. So for Pisces Risings, this eclipse is happening in your 7th house of Virgo. It's a South Node eclipse. So this is definitely a lot about releasing a lot of perfectionism tendencies, control tendencies, you know, kind of critique tendencies in relationships with other people. This could be you or your partner. Either way, it may be very, very clear with this eclipse, like small details that have been bothering you, or that feel like they're not working, or that feel like they are keeping you from just being free, or being free flowing, or feeling emotionally the way that you want to feel. And so maybe you try to control things in your relationship or with your partner, or they try to control you. And so this is definitely a time where it's like, okay, where have I been, you know, too focused on what's not working, or too focused on what the small little things that need to be fixed that I haven't, and blaming that for why I can't do what I want to do, when really it's up to me. Like, I'm the one that has the power here, with Mercury, the ruler of this eclipse, being in your sign, being retrograde. It's like your relationships are mirroring you right now. And so it's like there has to be a level of turning that focus back to yourself and asking yourself how you're participating in some kind of narrative. Now, the way that you could be participating could also be that, you know, you are participating in an unhealthy dynamic or an unhealthy situation that you are no longer willing to participate in. So for some of you, it is a possibility that you could be getting out of relationships at this time. You could be letting go of relationships, or just seeing where those relationships have felt restricting or controlling, or where you've been having to manage it too much, or whatever the case may be. So for some of you, this could be kind of a decrease in relationships where you no longer want to wear that role. You no longer want to feel like you are micromanaging someone else's feelings, or micromanaging the relationship, or being micromanaged. And for others of you, this could be like not necessarily a breakup or a separation, but more so of, okay, what is tearing our relationship apart? Like, Virgo is about really this, you know, kind of breaking down to see how things work. So it's like, where have we been focused too much on the little things that we feel are the reason it's not working, when really it's like, no, it's been my mood, or my bitchiness, or my emotional problems, or my own, the way that I've been showing up, you know? And we've just been projecting it onto, oh, well, they just never do the dishes and it drives me nuts, and if they just did the dishes, I wouldn't be like this. It's like, you know, these are the types of things that can really come up right now if you're a Pisces rising. Now, if you're not in a relationship, this could really be other people, your social life really mirroring certain things back to you about yourself, letting go of old versions of yourself and how you show up in situations with other people. This could also be, you know, really showing you where you've been your own inner critic, where you've been kind of your own micromanager and not allowing yourself to be free, or feel how you want to feel, or whatever the case may be, where you judge yourself, or where you judge others, you know, prematurely, and what that judgment of others is saying about you if you are, you know? Like a lot of times when we judge people, it's usually because they either represent someone that we feel we used to be and that we're still upset at. Like we're still upset at that version of ourselves and we see that version of ourselves in them, so then we are upset at them. But often a lot of times they represent qualities that we feel we're not allowed to embrace or have, but that we sometimes actually want. And so and maybe not in all situations, like let's say you judge someone for like being selfish. Okay, maybe you don't want to be selfish all the time, but maybe you wish you could be a little bit more selfish in your life, you know? Maybe you wish you could have some more time to say, you know what, screw you, I don't want to do that, I want to do my own thing, you know? And maybe that's a sign that you need to do that, you know? So these are the different ways that you guys could be seeing some of this come up. Obviously, there's more ways than just this, but we'd be here for a lot longer if I went over everything. So let me know down below, Pisces Risings, how you guys are seeing these characteristics and traits come up in your life right now. I'd really love to hear your feedback. Comment down below, Sexy Pisces Rising. If you missed the first half, go back and watch that. And we are moving on to Aries Rising. So for Aries Risings, this lunar eclipse in Virgo is happening in your 6th house of your health, wellness, routines, lifestyle, day-to-day habits, addictions, and work schedule, etc. So there's a lot coming up here in terms of, okay, you've got all these planets in Pisces and you've had this like a little bit over a year now of karmic stuff going on in your 12th house where you've had to release a lot, surrender a lot, kind of realize a lot of the ways that you've been kind of screwing yourself behind the scenes, you know, like maybe through addictions or habits or just whatever, like, you know, emotional, energetic knots that you get yourself into or psychological stuff that you have kind of allowed to go on behind the scenes that have been really working against you. But this has also been a very spiritual time, I think, for some of you guys. If you've really used the last year to heal, to surrender, to go within, to get your spiritual woo-woo freak on, then you're probably doing a lot better with these transits. Now, with that being said, this Virgo lunar eclipse in your 6th is like, all right, that's great. You know, we've, probably done a lot of stuff, a lot of releasing, surrendering. Has it turned into a sort of escape though? What needs to be physically implemented on a physical material level so that we can kind of organize the flow? There's got to be a riverbed for the river, okay? And so this is kind of like what needs to be reorganized or changed in your day-to-day routines, in your schedules, with your diet, with your exercise, with your habits, with your job. What needs to be cleaned out and reorganized? This is a really great time for a detox or a cleanse, you know, like physically, mentally, emotionally, energetically, spiritually, all the things. So it's like, how can you implement all of this spiritual healing and energetic healing and emotional healing that's been going on behind the scenes into your physical reality? You know, maybe that means, okay, I have been kind of just all over the place. Maybe I need to get back to having a better schedule or a better routine where I can carve out a certain amount of time to do these things, but also still be responsible and live up to the expectations or responsibilities or whatever the case may be that I have in my life, you know? And so it's like, how can it's basically like discerning what habits are useful, what habits are not, what needs to be gotten rid of, where you need to release control in your day-to-day reality, or where you need to focus on what you can control rather than what you can't in your day-to-day reality, so that you can feel better as you move forward in your life. Okay, so that's what we're dealing with here. So let me know down below, Aries Rising, how that resonated. I'd love to hear your feedback and what's going on with you with this one. Comment down below, Sexy Aries Rising, and watch the beginning if you missed it. We're moving on to Taurus Rising. So for Taurus Risings, this Virgo lunar eclipse on the South Node is happening in your 5th house. And so this is definitely you guys coming to some kind of revelation or realization about where you maybe have been kind of so focused on your social life or your social interactions or what's going on with everybody else, and that's great, it's been like a big vibe, but now it's kind of like, okay, well, do I need to get really kind of grounded and clear on if I even like this, if I even like this vibe, if I even like these people, you know, or who I am in all of this, or what's good for me in all of this. For some of you, this could also be bringing up a lot, because the fifth house can rule children. This could be bringing up a lot about children and perfectionism or critique, or you know, those Virgo traits, what you have control of and what you don't. This could also be for some of you guys like, okay, where have you been overly perfectionistic, or where have you been overly critical about you know, what you love, things that you love, your creativity process, creative projects, like dating, romance, sexuality, you know, like where have you been kind of, you know, too critical or too controlling in those areas. And it's like, you know, I think that you're kind of going back and forth between what's fun for everybody else and what's fun for you, where you connect with other people and where you don't, what you have to relate with other people and what you don't. You know, this really is kind of like, okay, well, sometimes you need to let go of something to, you know, to keep it going, or to keep a certain level of desire, satisfaction, fun, fulfillment within your social life. And other times you need to hold on to something and set a boundary or take control in a situation. And so I think right now there's a sense of you really reflecting on who's in your life, why, maybe you have certain, you know, people in your life that you're not sure about, or that you don't know if you can trust, or whatever the case may be, or you're not really sure if they, you know, are actually here for the long haul, or if they're actually, you know, going to be significant. Maybe you're dealing with a collaborative situation right now for some of you. Like for some of you, this could be, I don't know, like you're working with other people for something within your career, you're leading a team, or you're in you have a lot of events coming up right now. So I think that this is about where your heart is versus where you are socially, or with social events, social accolades, like social relationships, your social life in general. And so those are the themes that you really want to look for. Okay, like let me know down below, Taurus Rising, if that resonated and what you are noticing come up around this time. And comment down below, sexy Taurus Rising. Go watch the first half of this video if you missed it. And we're moving on to Gemini Risings. For Gemini Risings, this lunar eclipse in Virgo is in your fourth house of home, family, personal life, private life. This is definitely a really, really good eclipse to do some major spring cleaning at your home, like some physical spring cleaning, getting rid of stuff that is not coming with you to the future. For some of you guys, you could even be moving and literally moving things, or remodeling your home, or like getting rid of certain things in your home. This could be a really big time for that. Now, also, this could be really showing you where there's a certain level of control, perfectionism, critique, micromanaging going on within your home life, within your family, within your personal life, within your private life. And where that needs to change, or where that needs to be moved around in some way, or where that needs to be faced or released or realized or healed. You know, there's a lot going on in Pisces in your 10th house of your future, your long-term goals, your career. So things are looking up for you, quite literally. Like things are looking very bright for you and where you're going and what you want to do in the world. But there may be a certain level of change that needs to happen in your private life, in your home life, or with family at home in some way. Like you may need to reorganize some things in the home life first before you feel more comfortable like moving towards your future, or moving ahead, or going after your dreams, or really focusing on your career. Now, both will be happening kind of simultaneously during this time, so it's not that you need to pick between one or the other, because this Virgo lunar eclipse is very connected to your Pisces 10th house with Mercury retrograde here. You could even be reflecting on your future, your career, and also kind of uncertain about that, or uncertain about how your foundation, your home, your family, your private life moves along with that. You know, this could involve real estate and things like that as well, but either way, there's definitely a lot going on here, and you may not be completely certain about all of it right now, and that's okay. I think you may understand some things after this eclipse, or more things may come in the following weeks. You are a Gemini rising, so Mercury is your ruler, so you're definitely feeling this since it's a Mercury ruled lunar eclipse and Mercury is retrograde in your 10th. So you're definitely reflecting on where you want to go and learning to let go of the past. A Virgo lunar eclipse in the 4th house can also be letting go of old ties from the past, letting go of things from the past, like letting go of things that are dead and gone, and no longer, you know, kind of releasing your grip from some old attachments and things like that. So let me know down below, Gemini Risings, how that's resonating. I'd love to hear your feedback down below. Comment down below, sexy Gemini Rising, and go watch the first half if you missed it. And we're going to move on to Cancer Rising. So for Cancer Risings, this Virgo lunar eclipse is in your 3rd house of your environment, your surroundings, your day-to-day life, your lifestyle, short travel, short trips, you know, skills, knowledge, learning, things like this. So these are a lot of the subjects you could see coming up around this time: how you organize your day-to-day schedule, how you organize your day-to-day routines, your day-to-day lifestyle, and what needs to change in your day-to-day life. You know, what in your day-to-day life and your day-to-day rituals is not really matching what you believe or your faith in a bigger picture, the bigger trust that you have in some kind of higher plan. How can you rearrange, reorganize, or get rid of, you know, certain things in your day-to-day life, certain, whether it be schedules or implementing new routines or implementing you know, a new plan, or making the necessary changes you need to make in your day-to-day life and your day-to-day environment so that you can kind of move towards your future dreams, your future goals, any educational pursuits that you're going after, any career pursuits that you're going after, any travel pursuits that you're looking forward to. It's like, this is kind of a time where you may find that you are like buckling down and really maybe learning a new skill or getting done learning a new skill. You know, really looking at how you operate in the processes of your day-to-day reality and day-to-day life to feel more efficient and to feel more like you are making use of your time. Like, this is definitely time management, how you're managing your day-to-day life to get to where you want to go, and how that goes with your beliefs, you know, with the 9th house being so activated here, like what you believe about your life and who you are and where you're going in the world. And is your day-to-day reality matching that? Like, are you practicing what you preach, basically? Are you walking the talk? Like, faith without works is dead. How are you implementing where you're going, or your faith, or your bigger picture dream or vision into your day-to-day reality? That's what really needs to change here. Or where are old control tendencies, old perfectionism tendencies really getting in the way of your bigger vision or what you want to do? And this would be kind of a time to really be facing that and kind of, you know, releasing anything there. So that's what I'm seeing for you guys, Cancer Risings. Let me know down below how that resonated. I'd love to hear your feedback. Comment down below, sexy Cancer Rising. Go watch the first half if you skipped ahead, and we are moving on to Leo Risings. Okay, Leo Risings, last but not least. This has been a long one. My fellow Leo Risings, this lunar eclipse in Virgo is happening in our 2nd house of finances. This is not just finances, though. This is what we use, what we consume, what we depend upon, our needs, our resources, our assets, and yeah, like what we actually depend upon on like a day-to-day basis. And so what are we doing on a day-to-day basis, or what are we depending on a day-to-day basis that is no longer useful, or that is not organized in a way or set up in a way that's getting us to where we want to go? This could be definitely a time of looking kind of at the details of where we are financially and what we really care about and what we don't, and really discerning, like, have we been holding on to or clinging to or trying to control things that we really aren't even like we really aren't even that worried about, or that we really don't even want, you know? And so where have we been picky or frugal or kind of like overly critical about our finances, or judged ourselves or criticized ourselves over our finances, but not only that, our capabilities and what we're able to do and the things that we depend upon. And so this is definitely a time where we are letting go of a lot of habits with Jupiter in our 12th, and a lot of things that are working behind the scenes against us, basically. Like, we're letting go of a lot of things that we are doing that work against us. And so this is a time with Mercury retrograde in our 8th that we may see financial themes come up. We may see themes surrounding our resources and things that we depend upon, you know, things that we consume, all kind of coming up around this time, but the picture may not be completely clear yet with Mercury retrograding in our 8th house, and the 8th house being kind of not seen by the ascendant. And so this is a time where we are feeling like there may be some things changing within what we prioritize, what we care about, what we depend upon, and what we want for ourselves with those topics, but we may not have all the answers just yet, and that is okay. That is okay. So anyways, I think that there is this kind of dichotomy as well between learning when to trust, kind of have this like faith in something bigger than ourselves when it comes to our resources, and that our resources will be met, or you know, that is all going to work out, versus needing to control or having this kind of solid plan or inner knowing that helps us to feel more safe. And so it can kind of be like a polarity between those things right now, where we notice where we're hanging on very tight, or we notice where we're needing to let go of our grip a bit and trust. And so it could be different for different ones. If you feel like you've been kind of trusting and it's now time to act and do something, that this could be the time. If you feel like you've been really gripping tight and trying to control or worrying about financial matters, resources, etc., this may be more of a time to trust. I think right now it's like we are releasing potentially a lot of like survival patterns and unraveling a lot of old knots to do with worthiness and usefulness and finances, but then also like relationships and other people and groups of people, and what we even really desire and want in terms of how we want to show up or make money in the world. And so this could definitely be a time where a lot of those themes are coming up. So let me know down below, Leo Rising, how that is resonating with all of you guys. Let me know if this resonated, or what's going on with you, if what you are noticing come up around this time. Comment down below, Sexy Leo Rising. If you missed the first half, go back and watch, and I will see you guys in the next one.